I have suffered from insomnia for most of my life. Ever since my father vanished without a trace when I was 12 years old, sleep has never come easily to me. One day he was sitting at our kitchen table drinking coffee, and the next he was simply gone. No note, no explanation, and no clues. The police searched for months, but they never found him. My mother spent years hoping he would return, but eventually even she accepted that he was gone. I never did. Years later, I moved into an old apartment building on the edge of town. The place was quiet, cheap, and strangely unsettling. The hallways smelled of dust and old wood, and every floorboard seemed to groan under invisible footsteps. Still, it felt like a place where nobody would bother me. I was wrong. The first strange thing happened during my second week there. I woke up suddenly in the middle of the night and looked at my digital clock. It read exactly 3:13 a.m. At first I thought nothing of it, but then I heard a faint creaking sound somewhere outside my apartment. It sounded like an old door slowly opening. I listened for a moment before convincing myself it was just the building settling. The next night, however, I woke up again at exactly 3:13 a.m. The same sound echoed through the hallway. This time curiosity got the better of me. I opened my apartment door and stepped into the corridor. What I saw at the far end instantly made my blood run cold. There was a black wooden door standing where no door should have been. I had walked that hallway dozens of times and knew for a fact that the corridor ended with a brick wall. Yet now, a tall black door stood there beneath a flickering yellow light. The wood was covered with deep scratches, and the brass handle reflected the weak glow overhead. Something about it felt wrong. Every instinct told me to turn around and leave, but I found myself walking toward it instead. The closer I got, the colder the air became. My heart pounded as I reached out and grabbed the handle. It wouldn't move. The door was locked. Just as I was about to walk away, I heard whispers coming from the other side. They were faint at first, like distant voices speaking through thick walls. Then they grew louder, multiple voices overlapping one another, saying words I couldn't understand. Terror surged through me. I rushed back to my apartment and locked the door behind me. The following morning, I checked the hallway again. The black door was gone. Only the familiar brick wall remained. I convinced myself I had imagined everything, perhaps due to exhaustion. But deep down, I knew what I had seen was real. The next night, I woke once again at exactly 3:13 a.m. The door had returned. This time, I brought my phone and recorded myself walking toward it. The scratches on the wood seemed deeper now, almost forming strange symbols. The whispers continued beyond the door. I tried the handle again, but it remained locked. After a few minutes, I returned to my apartment. The next morning, I reviewed the recording, expecting proof that I wasn't losing my mind. Instead, I nearly dropped my phone. The video showed me standing in front of an empty wall. The door wasn't there at all. Yet the whispers could still be heard clearly in the recording. As I replayed the footage, I noticed something hidden beneath the whispers. A voice, a familiar voice, my father's voice. My entire body froze. I listened again and again until I finally understood the words. "Don't open it." My father had been missing for 20 years. Hearing his voice again felt impossible. Yet there it was. That night I waited anxiously for 3:13 a.m. The door appeared once more, and when I approached it, I heard the same voice speaking from the other side. This time it was clearer. "I've been waiting for you," it said. It sounded exactly like my father. For several nights the voice continued speaking to me. Sometimes it begged me to open the door, sometimes it simply called my name. Every word sounded like my father. Part of me desperately wanted to believe he was alive somewhere beyond that door. But I couldn't forget the warning in the recording. Don't open it. The longer this continued, the more obsessed I became. I stopped sleeping entirely. Every night I sat awake waiting for 3:13 a.m. to arrive. The whispers grew louder with each passing night, and eventually a new sound joined them. Knocking, 3 slow knocks from behind the door. Unable to handle the uncertainty any longer, I finally spoke back. "Dad?" I asked. The whispers immediately stopped. Silence filled the hallway. Then a voice answered, "My son." Tears filled my eyes. It was him. At least it sounded like him. "Where are you?" I asked. "Behind the door," the voice replied. "Open it." My hand moved toward the handle, but then I remembered the warning. As I stepped away, the voice changed. Its tone became deeper and angrier. "Open the door." Panic overtook me and I ran back to my apartment. The next day I spoke to an elderly tenant named Martha, who had lived in the building for decades. The moment I mentioned the black door, her face turned pale. She told me that every few years someone in the building claimed to see a mysterious door appearing at night. Shortly afterward, that person would disappear without a trace. She listed several dates and names, and later I verified them through old newspaper archives. Every missing tenant had become obsessed with a strange door before vanishing. None of them were ever found. Suddenly, my father's disappearance felt connected to something far more terrifying than I had imagined. The following week, the door began changing. New scratches appeared across the wood every night. Eventually, the marks formed words. My name was carved into the surface hundreds of times. Then one night, I heard a loud click. The lock had opened. For the first time, the handle turned beneath my hand. The door slowly swung inward, revealing endless darkness beyond. Cold air poured from the opening. Thousands of whispers echoed from within. Shapes moved inside the darkness. Then one figure stepped forward. It was my father, exactly as I remembered him. He smiled and held out his hand. "Come with me," he said softly. I took a step toward the doorway before noticing something wrong. His eyes were completely black. No pupils, no whites, only darkness. Behind him stood dozens of other figures. Some matched the faces from the missing person articles I had researched. They stared silently from the shadows. My father's smile widened unnaturally. "You belong here," he whispered. Suddenly, hundreds of pale hands reached from the darkness toward me. I slammed the door shut just as the hands nearly grabbed me. The impact shook the entire hallway. Every light exploded overhead. Darkness swallowed everything. Then came the screaming. Thousands of voices shrieking from behind the door. I ran back to my apartment while the screams echoed through the building until sunrise. When morning finally arrived, I discovered deep scratches carved into my apartment door. 3 words had been etched into the wood. "Open it again." From that moment on, I knew whatever existed behind the door had noticed me. The haunting intensified. Whispers echoed through my walls before 3:13 a.m. even arrived. Shadows moved beneath my bedroom door. Objects disappeared and reappeared in different places. Mirrors reflected movement behind me that wasn't really there. One evening, I found muddy footprints leading from my front door to my bedroom. They ended beside my bed as if someone had stood there watching me sleep. That night, the voices spoke together in a single terrifying chorus. "You opened the door. You invited us. We are coming. We are." At exactly 3:13 a.m. the following night, a deafening crash echoed through the building. I stepped into the hallway and nearly collapsed from fear. The black door was no longer at the end of the corridor. It stood directly outside my apartment. The handle slowly turned by itself. The door creaked open, revealing the living darkness beyond. The whispers became deafening. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but suddenly I remembered something important from the newspaper archives. Every victim had disappeared only after willingly entering the doorway. Gathering every ounce of courage I had left, I stared into the darkness and spoke. "You're not my father." The whispers faltered instantly. The shadows recoiled. "You only wear the faces of the lost." For the first time, the voices sounded frightened. The hallway shook violently as if the building itself were screaming. "You have no place here," I shouted. Then I slammed the door shut with all my strength. A powerful shockwave rippled through the corridor. The lights flickered wildly before returning to normal. The black door vanished completely. For 3 months, nothing happened. The whispers disappeared. The shadows stopped moving. I finally slept peacefully again and convinced myself the nightmare was over. Then last night I woke suddenly and looked at my clock. 3:13 a.m. My stomach tightened. Somewhere inside my apartment, I heard the familiar creaking sound of a door opening. Slowly, I followed the noise into the living room. There, standing against the far wall, was the black wooden door. Its brass handle gleamed in the darkness. Beneath it, freshly carved into the wood, were 4 chilling words. "This time, we found you."